Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So today I got a new product here. This is a Zeke winch. I actually had a Zeke winch on here before, which was a 12,000 pound on my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. And now they sent me a 13,000 pound. This is the Platinum Pro from Zeke. So it's kind of an upgrade. It's got some different features, which are really cool. The old Zeke winch was great. I used it a few times. I pulled actually 3 trucks out of the ditch, one in the snow, and 2 actually that had run off the road and ditched it. And that 12,000 pound winch was great. Done a great job, never had a problem. And still actually looks brand new when I took it off yesterday. And that's mainly because I keep that thing covered. So you always want to cover your winch, keep them protected, and they'll always look like new. Makes your rope last a lot longer. This is not a cable winch, this actually has the rope, which I like a lot better than I do the cable. It's a lot safer. And it has some give to it, some stretch. So we're going to take this thing out of the box, show all the features, what it looks like. Then we're going to install it on the 2020 Jeep Gladiator, and should be a nice upgrade from my 12,000 pound to this one, or because the way I have this bare bones right now, it'd be just like a new install. So let's take this out of the box, check it out, see what's in the box, and get it installed. Now, just for disclosure, they sent me this for review. Not getting paid a dime for this, so I'm going to be honest about it. If it's been a good winch like the other one, it's been a great winch. Never had a minute's problem out of it. So I'm not making a dime on this. We'll post a link in the description below where you can check these out. But otherwise, let's get this thing installed. Okay, I've actually not taken this out, but I actually did open the top of the box. Looks like we got some literature here. Looks like a decal of some kind. Got a owner's manual right here. Hopefully good and explanatory, but these winches are actually pretty simple to install, really. Pretty straightforward. Kind of tells you a lot about the winch and how to winch and the way to use the winch, which if you're new to winching on your Jeep or your truck, whatever you put this on, it's not just for Jeep. This thing will fit on pretty much anything. It does show your dimensions on here of this also. The instructions also tells you how to hook it up. It does have a disconnect switch, which is nice. My other winch did not have that. It did have some breakers, but it did not have a disconnect switch, and this one does, which I like the disconnect switch. That way you can turn the power off, and when you're not using the winch, it's not got power going to it at all times. Just for safety reasons, it's a nice thing. It tells you all about using the remote. This remote for this thing is wired or wireless. My other one had a wired remote, which worked great, but the wireless should be a super nice upgrade. It tells you all about using that. And then it also has a parts list, which is pretty cool. We have the hook. Holy cow, this is ridiculous. This hook is massive. I mean, the other hook that come on the 12,000 pound was nothing like this. This thing is like twice the size. And it's a big, nice, open, large mouth. A lot of hooks are not big enough that you can put anything into. If you hook on clevises, or if you want to hook on a big rope, this big nice hook will be good for that. What we have here, okay, this is going to be our disconnect. We get the bolts for it. Looks like all the hardware for this is stainless steel. This is going to be our disconnect. So we have the positive in and out, all there is to that, which is all brass connections. And then we have the disconnect on and off positions. On off position right there. Turn it, right there will be the on position for the disconnect. And it looks like we have a bottom plate that goes on the disconnect after you put your wires on. It's on the sides here. It does have these little removable plates, depending on which one you have your wires coming out, or you can use 1 or 2 of them for your big cables to come out of, and then you bolt your bottom back on like so. Over here we have the bolt kit that bolts the winch down. Nice looking bolts. So we got the bolts, flat washers, and lock washers. Here we have looks like the ground cable. Nice big heavy ground cable right here. That'll be the big ground cable. And this looks like this is going to be the cable for the remote. And like I said, you can use this remote wireless or wired. It's kind of funny that that cable actually says Badland on it. Kind of neat to see that anyway. So Here's our remote, which is supposed to be wireless or wired. Pretty simple, in and out. And then we have a mode button right there. Okay, so in here I'll have to move this box, so I'll set this out of the way and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the winch itself. Pretty much we got the positive cable right here. And this positive cable will actually connect to our master switch. And then this part will come out of the master switch, this short cable, and then go to your positive of your battery. So pretty straightforward on this winch, just pretty much like any of the winches. So a lot of times when you're out, you need a waterproof one because you're going to go in water and this will be totally submerged and come out. You want it, something is protected. This new model is supposed to be totally protected and waterproof. Over here we have our switch. So turn it this way, we are engaged. Turn it back this way, we are on free spool. So we can just spool the cable right out. Flip it around here to the back side. In the back side you can actually see where the cables come out right here, go into the motor, and then you can see our spool right here. And then on the bottom, this is where we bolted up. This is our bolt pattern right here. Okay, so pretty much some specifications about this winch is our bolt pattern is pretty much the standard 10-inch wide by 4.5-inch bolt pattern. The gearbox is a 3-stage planetary gears, and it's 2:18:1 gear reduction ratio. The motor is a 6.5 horsepower. The drum on here is 2.5 inches by 9.6 inches. So this rope on this one is a 3/8 rope, 9.5 millimeter. And the dimensions on this is 20.9 inches wide by, the depth is 6.3 inches and the height is 9.6 inches. Let's take this thing, set it on the Jeep, bolt it down, run our cables, get it hooked up. Okay, the first thing you want to do before you put this on your vehicle, so you can have access to this, make sure you install your ground cable that came with it, and it just bolts on right here. And then also go around and check all of the nuts that hold all these cables on, just to make sure they're tight. You don't want no loose connections. Okay, so as far as bolting this on, we have our 4 bolts here, which are 4.5 by 10 bolt pattern. I'll set the winch on here. The bolts are like this. They will come up from the bottom, so we'll have our lock washer and our flat washer, and then they will come up through the bottom into the winch itself. Okay, so I got the bolts put in from the bottom side, got them tightened down, and now we'll run our cables. One thing about running the cables is be careful where you run them. I'm just going to run them, the frame is right here. I'm going to go between the grill and the bumper. I'm going to go along the frame and then come up right near my battery under the hood. It's not a good place for you to see, but I can show you where I'm going in at. I'm going to follow the frame. I'll tie it in a couple places, then I'll come up under the hood right by the battery. Okay, now we come down to the part of mounting our switch, and there is just really hardly any room at all to mount this thing. So what it's boiled down to for me, I think I want to make a bracket to where I can set this switch right here. I'll mount the bracket here with a couple self-drilling screws and make a mount to hold this from the bottom, come over here, and then I can run my positive cable from the positive into here. This positive will come in this side, and then of course my ground will go right over here to the ground lug, and I think that's going to work. That's about the best option I can think of. So I'm going to have to make a bracket, come back, bolt this together, and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so now I'm ready to go ahead and put my cables on here. I went ahead and made a bracket. I'll show you that here in a minute. I'll need to remove these 2 sides because I want to mount it just like this. So when I turn it off and on, it'll be just, see, it's so simple like that. Take these 2 out. So we're going to put our cable that goes to the battery on this side. You can actually use either side. It doesn't matter which way you turn it. It's just making contact between the 2 terminals. This is a 14 millimeter socket you'll need to tighten this down with. Make all connections before you connect it actually to the positive of the battery also. You want your battery to connect last. This cable here will run into this side. Make sure both of those are good and tight. And that's going to mount just like that. So here's the bracket that I made right here. And the way I made this is, you can see it does have a couple of extra holes because this is a scrap piece of metal I found, a piece of aluminum. I made the 4 holes to bolt this, and then 2 holes to screw it down to the body. And this will bolt on just like this. Sets it down inside this stair step, and I'll bolt it right here, not actually to the fender itself, but to this part of the frame work right here. And then of course, before we put that on, our bottom cover will go on just like this, like this. So if you can see here, the way I made this bracket, so it actually will fit between the fender and the framework here, because there's a gap between these two. So if you go like that, it'll slide right in that position. And then this is actually going to sit right here, and it's not touching the battery. Clears the battery, I'll be good to go with just a couple self-drill screws right here to hold it, because it won't take a lot to hold this because there's not really much weight to it at all. It's not heavy. So I'll go ahead and bolt this all together and I'll be right back. Okay, so that was pretty simple. Now I want to go ahead and hook my cables. I'm going to hook the positive first, then I'll hook the ground last. The good thing about Jeeps is you have all these nice places to connect things. And this is where I had the last 12,000 pound winch connected, and it worked great. So we're just going to connect this one up right here. Make sure it's nice and tight. And we'll put our ground on over here, like so. So now I've got this, it's nice and solid right here. It's a good location to put it. I should just be able to turn this to where this notched part is turned toward the green on, and we have power to our winch. And then after I get done using the winch, I'll leave this off at all times when not in use. Okay, so now we're ready to put our winch line through here. And yes, it does come with a fair lead. I forgot to mention this was in the box. So our fair lead, nice big heavy aluminum one, will bolt on right here. And it does come with the supplied bolts. Before I do and get in the way, I want to take this loose, cut this zip tie, and run our line through here. Like so. Now I'm going to take the fair lead, the bolts will go through just like this. So then on the back side we'll have a flat washer, lock washer, and then the nut. Okay, and then the size wrench, you'll need to tighten it up from the back side. They should hold. A socket would have to be an awful thin wall to fit in here to hold this, but I think you can just tighten it from the back side, and it takes a 19mm wrench. And now we can install our hook, this big, massive hook that is. And I'm thinking that this hook is big enough, it will pull flat when you winch it in and set right here, but we'll see. Okay, so let's take this thing and get the remote, see what it'll do. Okay, so let's go over here and turn our switch on. On this side right here, we have a rubber plug you pull out if you're going to use the cable, if you're not going to use it wireless. And then your cable just plugs on, very simple right here. There's little white marks to line up, like so. And then this plugs into the bottom of our remote. And then you can see it says wireless is lit up, so it's actually backwards because this is not wireless, this is wired. This says wired over here. These words are backwards because when I unplug this, turn it on, I don't know if you can see it there on the video, but that says wired is on. Well, that's wireless because if I push this button now, so if I take my switch and turn it on, I'll show you right here, push the out button, the winch works, wireless. But the light is lit up wired. Kind of just a mistake on their fault somehow. So if we take this and plug this in, you can see we're lit up, it says wireless, and that's actually when it's wired. And it still works the same way. So if you want to use a cable, I don't know why anybody would if you got it wireless. Why wouldn't you want to use it wireless? Forget the cable and hopefully never have to use it. But if your battery happened to be dead, you could plug in the cable and still use it. That is a big thumbs up right there. So we don't need this cable. We're going to unplug this Badland cable. So one thing about this, the switch that's inside here, because you have the kill switch up here by the battery, which I will use. You can actually just leave this switch in here on at all times and use that switch in there. It's up to you. And use the remote. So turning the remote on, I'll just press the button down for a few seconds. Red light comes on. It says wired instead of wireless. But anyway, whatever it is, we are engaged. If we wanted to go free spool, we could turn it like that. This should free spool out. And we should be able to winch out. Works pretty good. Pull this back in. So if you can see right there, good. Snug actually pulls that hook up there pretty flat. I think it's going to stay there okay. If it don't, I'll figure out something else to hook it. You could actually hook it over here on a clevis, whatever. But I don't like to have my rope exposed any more than I have to, and that's why I put a cover on this. Turn the remote off, make sure you don't run your battery down, and then go turn that switch off every time. The only other test for this is to take it out and do an actual test out somewhere. So, okay guys, that was the install of the brand new, it just come out, the Zeke 13,000 pound Platinum Pro winch. And I'll take this thing out this winter because it's actually, it's winter right now, so I'd say before long we're gonna get some snow and stuff, and I like helping people out and see how it does. But so far I think it's great, it looks great. I like that it's gonna be watertight and I don't have to worry about that part. I definitely like the new big hook. So as far as install, you can see that anybody can pretty much do this. There's not a lot of work to it. As long as you have a bumper that will fit a winch, you can put this on a Jeep, pretty much any pickup that's made to mount a winch. So very nice winch. Very nice that it has the wireless remote. I will do a later review, and hopefully that I can be out sometime and use it pulling somebody out of the ditch and make some videos and show you guys of this thing. But so far I really like it, looks good. I will put my protective cover on here like I did the other one. And after 3 years with the protective cover on my old one, the thing still looks like brand new. So I will put a link below where you can check out this Zeke 13,000 pound Platinum Pro winch. Thank you guys for watching. Click the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and ride on.